Let's take you live now to Newark, New Jersey. Professor Sahar Aziz is Director of the Center for Security, Race and Rights at Rutgers University Law School. Professor, welcome. Good to talk to you again. This is a very political process. How significant would you say it is?
Well, it's very significant because Donald Trump is only the second president to experience or to face impeachment inquiries after Richard Nixon, who resigned before any articles of impeachment were issued. And then the other two presidents, Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton, were the only two presidents who actually faced impeachment charges, although they were not convicted in the Senate. So this is most certainly a historical moment in U.S. history and in U.S. Constitutional legal history.
It still seems very unlikely, doesn't it, that in a trial in the Senate, which is dominated by the Republicans, there would be a vote to impeach. But I guess the big play here is for the opinions of voters in the election next year.
Yes, and the House is under a very tight schedule because they don't want impeachment to lead the headlines in 2020, which is when the election year starts for the next president. And so what they're trying to do right now is first gain the trust of the Republican voter base in hopes that perhaps they can get them either to switch sides during the elections or at least to put pressure on Republican senators and House members in terms of seeing that, in fact, Donald Trump has committed high crimes and misdemeanors and has violated the Constitution pursuant to Article 2. And so what's interesting is the House Judiciary Committee's hearings, public hearings this week, which will bring forward constitutional law experts that will explain the process of impeachment, what impeachment is, what qualifies as high crimes and misdemeanors under Article 2, which is arguably unusual insofar as making this case very public rather than just proceeding straight with the articles of impeachment, which we anticipate will be issued probably early next week.
Professor, just briefly, people will have heard a lot of what's in this latest report from the hearings. There are a couple of new lines, though, aren't there, including some that make it much harder for Republicans defending the president to suggest that Rudy Giuliani was acting more or less independently. He was in constant touch with the White House.
Yes, I think the facts, I mean, we don't have the full reports, not public, but I think the facts are clear that Trump used his personal attorney to, among other top aides, to coerce and extort, arguably, the Ukrainian president to open an investigation on his political rival in the upcoming presidential elections, Joe Biden, and his son, Hunter Biden, in exchange for releasing military assistance to Ukraine at a time when Ukraine desperately needed that military assistance because it was at war with Russia. And this was military assistance that Congress had approved and appropriated. So this is really unprecedented, and it's not simply a partisan issue. It's really about the president putting his own political, partisan, electoral interests ahead of U.S. national security in a region of the world that is very sensitive and among countries that are very important to the U.S. interests in Europe and in Eastern Europe in particular.
Professor Sahar Aziz, thank you very much.